Good afternoon, hashtag Secure the Grad Tribe. My name is Evodia Mohanyane, and I will be your host for the 33rd episode of Secure the Grad since we launched on the 8th of February 2001. Good to see you. If you've been with us for the last couple of episodes, it's good to have you back on our platform. And if it's your very first time, where have you been? But we know what they say about right place and right time. So today is just the right time to have you as part of this tribe. Now, some of you might not know what Secure the Grad is. We provide senior students at the University of the Free State, but also those who choose to join our platforms, important information on how they can secure the grad. So we generally speak to 4 themes. The first one is registration advising. Second one is how to fund your degree, which is exactly what we're talking about today. The third one, we speak to you about academic support. So how can you adjust in your senior years till you get to the final year of your undergraduate or postgraduate qualifications? And then the last theme we speak to is your career as well as the wellness. You know, we are securing the grad so that we can secure that bag, but we do so with a healthy soul, spirit, and mind. So today, not to waste any time, we are talking to you about how you can fund your degree, exploring conversations around different internal as well as external partners that are here to support you in your journey of funding that qualification, whether it's an undergraduate or a postgraduate qualification. So just quickly, before we get the show on the road, we need to quickly speak to you about the house rules. So you will notice that your microphone as well as your camera have been disabled, and that is to ensure that we have an effective but also a smooth conversation today. You know, sometimes that glitch that comes on when we hear someone say, "Hey, Tabiso, wala pompomo." We want to make sure that while important communication is getting to you, we don't get those bloops. So we know that happens. Now, if that has happened to you before, tell us in the chat. We'd like to know about those bloopers that have happened to you, hopefully not in a job interview. Also, what we'd like to remind you is that our chat function are open for you to engage with us, not just with me, but with your fellow participants on the platform or fellow audience members on the platform, but also with our guest speakers this afternoon. So please tell us who you are, where you're from, what's happening, what questions you have, and what unclear. So remember to do that in our chat functions. Last but not least, the webinar is recorded. So if you are watching the recording, glad you could catch us. But if you need to go to class or you've got load shedding or you run out of data, don't worry. The rest of the conversation will be uploaded on Blackboard, University of the Free State Blackboard organization, under the Senior Student Experience. Alternatively, you can follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can catch the rest of this conversation. So we are interested in you engaging with us, and we'll be rewarding that meaningful participation. Throughout the webinar, do look out on the screen for a poll that will pop up. As soon as the poll pop up, remember to indicate your preferred choice and click on the submit button. So we'd like to hear from you while the webinar is going. Right, now that that is out of the way, I'd like to show you who we are talking to in today's webinar. All right, so we've got Khomotso Mogako from UFS Finance. Very excited to have Khomotso as part of our conversation today. Also UFS alumni. We've got Prince Koza from Center for Graduate Support. We're speaking to those of you who are currently in your postgraduate studies, or it's your final year and you would like to find out how do you get to how you get to fund postgraduate opportunities of study. We're also speaking to Tshegofatso Berta from Standard Bank. Tshegofatso, also warm welcome with us. We'll get to see our speakers in a short time. So now that you see who is on the platform with us and who will be chatting to you about financing your qualification, let us give them a warm STG welcome right there in the chat, and let us see some of the faces. So let's see some of our guests. Please remember to put on your cameras so that our team can see you. There's Khomotso. I can see Tsegofatso. There's Prince as well. Good to see all of you, and I'm so excited to have you on our platform today. So I just want to find out from your side if you are able to see the slides moving. I am still stuck on the title slide on my side. It looks like network is not on our side. All right, from our technical team, please indicate to us if the slides are moving on your side. I see we still have Mr. Prince seems to be very famous. Our funder, Mr. Prince, our funder, you getting quite a cheer there in our chats. So, ladies and gents, remember these are the people where the wallets are sitting with. So, qualification, guys. These are the people that we have for you today. So, quick, let's kick off with you. Let's do it backwards today. I know my technical team is not going to be happy with me for this one, but so a quick introduction from your side. Tell us a little bit about yourself and one interesting fact that we might not know.
Hi, Vodia. So my name is Tseho Beta, but with a B-E-T-H-A, right? So that's my surname. I am a solution owner within the lending space. So I look after student funding. So we are the guys with, I like to call it a blank canvas, and we just are passionate about what we do, and we're excited to always come up with new solutions to kind of help students. So interesting fact, I get to be if Kimoreki in my real life.
Well, you know what they say, you are this in the one life, you are that in the other. So welcome with us, and we're really looking forward to continue the conversation with you and hearing what Standard Bank has in place for our students. Now, let's move over to Khomotso. Khomotso, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and one interesting fact.
Oh, hi, Evodia. Okay, I was just struggling to unmute myself. Okay, my name is Khomotso Mohako. I work at the Financial Aid Office. So I started working for the university in 2020, and we deal mainly with bursaries. I administer the academic merit bursary. We've got a various bursaries in our department. We also work with internal and also external bursaries. One interesting fact, I'm not sure. I can't think of anything at the moment. But what I can say is
something interesting. I don't know if I may divulge that to the audience today. I promise it's not embarrassing. For those of you who might not know, Khomotso is also a fashion designer in her other life. So, hi mo. You know who the person is, and my so Khomotso, I think that's something very interesting. I didn't know that in a very long time till I found that out. So, not just is Khomotso working with the purse, but she's also working with very talented fashion designer. All right, Khomotso, very excited to have you on our platform and looking forward to having a conversation with you. To our technical team, we can just check in with Khomotso to make sure that we have her camera ready for when we get going with the chat. Mr. Prince, the thorn among the roses. Welcome again. You're not a stranger on our platform. Good to have you back. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those who might be meeting you for the first time.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Evodia. Thanks for the platform also. And thank you to the students and colleagues who've attended. My name is Prince Koza from the CGS, Center for Graduate Support. So I deal with funding for postgrads, that is from PGDIP up until PhD. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing what I have, but all I can say is there's also a solution for all problems. So if you are facing challenges with your funding, the guy to speak to.
Any interesting fact about you, Prince?
None, but I might reveal something during the presentation.
Guys, I don't know what it is about our panel today. But you know what? It's maybe they're very similar to our audience. I'm still warming up to the conversation, but I'm sure I'll get it out of them by the middle of our conversation. So thank you so much. Looking forward to jumping into the conversation with you. Khumuzo, let's get the conversation kick-started with you. All right, now, so you've also mentioned that you work in the financial aid office and administering bursaries. You spoke a little bit about, or you mentioned a little bit, the merit bursary. Talk to us about what is the merit bursary and how does it work?
Okay, Evodia, thank you so much. The merit bursary is divided into 3 components. So we have the merit bursary for first years. So those ones, it's the ones that are straight from high school. So we look at their AP scores. So students that have an AP score of 35 and above qualify for the merit bursary. So they get a bursary of between 6,000 up to 20,000 rand. So the other portion is your senior undergraduate students. There, they qualify for the merit bursary if they receive an average percentage of their marks of 80% and above. So there, the amount of the merit bursary is determined by the cost of the modules. So we take the cost of the module, times it by the marks that they have received that is above 80%, and then we have like a factor there that we use, which is 0.5. So, and then the other portion is the one with the postgraduate student. There, for postgraduate student, you need to have an average of 75% in order to qualify for that bursary. So the amount is calculated the same way. So the main purpose of the merit bursary, you can use it either to register at the beginning of the year, you can use that to register, and you can use it for tuition fee mainly. And unfortunately, the merit bursary that does not cover outstanding fees. So yes, that's in a nutshell what the merit bursary is about.
I think that actually speaks to the next question I was going to ask in terms of who qualifies, but I think you've perfectly put it that, students undergrad, you must have an average of 80%, and for postgrad, 75%. So just another question perhaps around who qualifies. Can a student come and say, I want to apply for a merit bursary? Or is it something that the university says, hey, Evodia, you qualify for a merit bursary, therefore here are the funds?
The student does not need to apply for the merit bursary. We calculate the merit bursary for them on a yearly basis. So our system picks up students who meet the qualifying criteria. So they don't necessarily need to apply. The only students that need to apply is like transferring from other institutions, because obviously we do not have their information on our system. So what they do is that they email those documents over to me, and then we do the calculations to see whether they do qualify.
So when typically would a student be able to see whether they have qualified for a merit bursary? When would it show on the academic data summary?
Okay, we run the system actually the first week of January. When we open up, that's when they will see now on their academic data summary, it will show the amount that they qualify for.
All right, so STGS, you've heard it. You've heard the criteria, you don't have to apply for a merit bursary, the system will automatically pick up. So if you are thinking of not writing that third test, or you thinking, I'll be okay with the 50%, I want to help you think otherwise today to make sure that you do qualify for those merit bursaries. Now, Khumuzo, we know that the language of conversation is something very important and it can confuse information. So students tend to use the term tuition and financial aid interchangeably. Can you help us clarify the difference between tuition and financial aid?
Okay, I will start with tuition. The tuition fee department, let's say now the student is coming into the university. The moment you start with your registration, that's when you are starting your relationship now with the tuition fee department. The moment you start, like you sign that contract to say now you are a registered student. So you start having a tuition fee account. They open a tuition fee account for you. So everything that has to do with financing of your course, how much you owe, that one is with the tuition fee department. So I work at the financial aid department. So financial aid is sort of, aiding a student, financially with your studies, assisting them with their studies, seeing how can we help you finance your studies with various bursaries that you're working with.
So what are some of those bursaries? So in the financial aid department, what are some of those bursaries that you work with?
Okay, I'm going to start with the monitoring bursary. So the monitoring bursary is mainly for final year students. That one is normally available at the beginning of the year. It's for students now that are doing final year, but now they have outstanding fees from previous year. So there we open up for applications for students so that we can help them clear their previous year's account so that now they can be able to register. So it depends on the amount of funding that we have. If the monitoring bursary can also help you with registration fees as well. So there we look at final year students that have the propensity to complete their degree that year. So we will ask for confirmation to say now you are going to complete your qualification at the end of that year. And the other people that we also look at, if people like has held like leadership positions, that also puts you in a good space now to qualify for that monitoring bursary. And then the other bursary that I'm going to speak about is the COFSI Alumni Trust Bursary. Can I also mention, before I continue, Evodia, like all the information that I'm mentioning now is available on our website. If you go to your student portal, financial aid, all the information regarding funding is available there. So the Alumni Trust Bursary, normally it opens up twice in a year. The first closing date would be normally 28 February, and then the second date will be 31 July. So there it does not limit the student on what qualification are you doing, but the most important thing there is the results. A student must have a good academic record in order to qualify for that bursary. And then we've got the Agric bursary. The Agric bursary is managed by the Department of Agriculture. So student needs to apply there directly with them. But if they check on our website also, there is a link to that application portal. So normally that one, it finances BSc students. So we have an undergraduate, there's undergraduate bursary, there's also a postgraduate bursary. And they need to act quickly because now the closing date is the end of October for this one. And then the other bursary that I'm going to speak about is the Funza Lushaka bursary. That one is for students that are doing Bachelor of Education. And normally that one opens from October up until the beginning of January. So with that one, the same thing happens. You need to apply directly to the funder. So you need to go to the Faculty of Education that will explain further what is the bursary about, how can you apply. Because normally we receive a list of approved applicants and then we just administer that bursary. And then the other one that I want to talk about is the AB Bailey Travel Bursary. I don't think this one, the students are aware of the bursary. So what happens with this bursary? It's a travel bursary. They normally students that are between 25 years of age and under, who are busy with their third year level and above. They are given an opportunity to travel abroad for 3 weeks. The tour normally starts from Cape Town. It goes to Addis Ababa, it goes to London, Oxford, Cambridge, and then it's like an all expenses paid bursary for you to explore the world. And then we have various SETA bursaries. Normally those ones, it's SETA grants. So for this one, students, we normally identify students. They don't normally apply directly, but we identify students based on the category given by the funder. For example, they will say they want medical students. So we work with faculties, we work with SES to identify those students. So what happens with that one, the major problem that we have with regards to this bursary is that students do not update their details on the system. So we are given a limited time. Let's say now we're given like
Khomotso, are you still there? Looks like we might have lost Khomotso's sound for a moment. But while we're trying to get Khomotso back online, she mentioned something very, very important. And I know this is something that almost everybody that's trying to support the student is complaining about. Students' contact details are incorrect on the system. So if it has happened that you have changed your contact details, either you changed your SIM card, your phone got stolen, you decided you don't want to be with this service provider, network provider anymore, you want to move to a cheaper network provider, please remember to update your contact details on PeopleSoft Oracle. Otherwise, good opportunities will miss you. As you heard Ms. Khomotso say, is that when particularly the SETA funded bursaries, they might be given a very limited time to look out for students. So you are sitting there waiting to get funding, you going up and down, but here's an opportunity, but unfortunately you don't read your email, neither do you have the correct cell number on the system. So I want to encourage you right after the webinar, go onto PeopleSoft, update your contact details, and remember to check your student email. Many of the funders will not contact you on your personal email, but rather your UFS for life email address. So remember, clear out your mailbox, read those emails. If it's from tuition fees, if it's from financial aid, if it's from GPS at UFS, if it's from Secure the Grad, if it's from career services, you better open that email. Otherwise, you're missing out on great and very important information. We will circle back to Khomotso to talk a little bit around the benefits that these bursaries have for you as students. Now, Mr. Prince, let us, before we move to Mr. Prince, I just want to encourage you. We did display the contact details of financial aid as well as our tuition fees on all our UFS campuses. Go on the website or alternatively visit our student success portal on Blackboard to get all information regarding how you can fund your grad. Now, for those of you who are looking at how to get to postgrad funding or postgrad studies rather, and how to fund that, we're going to be talking to Mr. Prince Khoza. Before we move to Prince, here is a poll that has popped up on your screen. Tell us, were you aware of funding opportunities the UFS financial aid provided before this webinar? Yes or no, and click on the submit button. So we will put it up for the next 5 minutes. Remember to select your option and then click on the submit button. Prince, welcome again. Do talk to us a little bit about services that you provide from the Center of Graduate Support.
Thank you so much, Evodia. Thanks for the opportunity. So I think some of you might know the CGS as the postgraduate school. So our name changed last year. We are now called the Center for Graduate Support. So basically, we are a hub for students who are doing postgraduate. So we provide courses, workshops. We have funding for both staff and our students. I'll just maybe highlight on the departments within the CGS. We also have academic writing, where there's a write space, where they assist students with their academic writing. We also have the RCD, research capacity development, where we have workshops and seminars for students. I'm sure you've seen the emails popping up on your UFS for Life email addresses inviting you to attend some of those workshops. So those workshops usually cover things such as research softwares, methodology, ethics, academic writing, and all. We also have student tracking, and we also handle applications, admissions, enrollments, and thesis submissions for postgrad students. At the moment, it's only for PhD and masters, but going forward, even for honors. And also then the lastly is the funding. So we do provide funding from our internal sources and also external sources. Thank you.
Thanks, Prince. I hope students know that you are not just a Moregi at the postgraduate qualification. I'm glad you mentioned that there's writing support, there is, software, how to go about working with a supervisor and so on. I know generally students think that the only support we provide is funding at CGS. Now, talk to us about what are those funding options available for students that are pursuing postgraduate qualifications or who want to pursue postgrad qualifications.
Yes, thank you so much. So as I've mentioned, we have internal funding from the university. We also have external funding. I'll just limit to a number of opportunities that we administer internally. The first one that we are responsible for is the NRF. That's the National Research Foundation funding. I always say it's the NSFAS for postgrads. So that's government funds for honors, masters, and PhDs. So they do fund both South African permanent and international students, and applications for masters and PhDs are closed for 2024. So I think the deadline was 19 July. But for honors, so if you are doing your final year undergrad, or you've completed your undergrad, then you can apply for honors funding until the 24th of November. So please apply as early as possible, but the deadline is 24 November this year for 2024 funding. The requirements, not that strict. Also looking at the amount that the NRF funds you, so you can get full cost of study funding. For example, for honors, it can go up to 167,000 per annum. Masters, it can go up to 185,000. PhD, 192,000. So that's money that the NRF will give to you, and covering all the tuition fees and accommodation, and whatever is left, then it gets paid to your bank account directly. So let me just maybe provide a website for the NRF. If you're going to be doing your honors, then you can just check the NRF's website, which is NRF Connect. So if you can just Google NRF Connect, it will take you to the NRF's website. But also, even on our UFS webpage, we do have the information there. The second one is the UFS tuition fee funding. That's funding from the university internally. So we do fund students from postgraduate diploma up until PhD. So currently, we are still receiving applications for this year. So if you are doing your master's or PhD, but don't have funding for this year, you can still apply up until the end of this month, September. Otherwise, applications for 2024 will open on the 15th of September, which I think it's next week. So please do look out for that. We do fund postgraduate diploma, we do fund honors, we do fund masters and PhD. So please look out for that. At the moment, we only cover the full tuition fees, but that might change later on. We send all the calls, as I've mentioned, to your UFS for live email. So please do check your emails time to time. So besides that, we also have funding for data collection. So if you are a PhD or master students doing data collection, you can apply for us to fund you. You could ask for accommodation where you're going to collect the data, or transport to get the flights, anything that you think you'll need, we can fund you for that for this year also. I'm just going to touch on a few external funding opportunities that we have. Currently, we have the HCI Foundation. It's now open for honors and postgraduate diploma students. The deadline is 30 September. So if you can just go to their website, it's hcifoundation.co.za, then you can just submit your application. Also, we have funding for master students from DBREV. So do check the website also. Deadline is 29 September. The website is www.dougbanks, which is banks.co.za. There are opportunities also there. And we do have funding also from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, which we do advertise to students. And we will, on the 15th of September, make funding available through MESITA. That will be for honor students who are in the maths, physics, computer science, and accounting. All in all, please do check the ZA Bursaries website. It's ZA, then bursaries.co.za. They do publish also what's available. Alternatively, please look out for what we have also on the UFS website.
Thank you so much. I think it's the first time I hear of so many opportunities for our postgraduate students. Now, Prince, can you maybe talk to us a little bit around what have you seen in the application process kicks applicants out? So it cancels their eligibility.
Yes, I think my advice would be apply early. What we have seen, for example, we recently closed applications for NRF, PhD and masters. And the day before the closing date, we had like 30 applications. And the next day we were up to 400 or 500. So which means students wait until the last day to apply. And then that comes with technical challenges, and then they send emails after hours and no one responds, and then they can't submit applications. So please do apply as early as possible. Please read the criteria because small things, going back to the NRF, we had students who did not certify their ID copies, and it clearly states that please submit a certified ID copy. A brilliant student, good grades, but because your ID was not certified, you missed out on 180,000 rand. So please do follow, look at the requirements, make sure you meet the requirements. And also don't apply for one opportunity. So if there's 5 of them, apply to all of them. See which one comes through and then choose the best one that serves your needs. But I think if anything, then just make sure you read the requirements, because we get a lot of applications. So it's sometimes difficult to go through and call everyone to submit whatever is missing. But if you adhere to what is required, only stick to what is required, then usually it's easier even for the funders to give you a positive feedback.
That's very interesting. So remember, do read those requirements, adhere to the requirements. Don't just read, adhere to the requirements. We know that if you are on campus at Protection Services, they do certify original copies of documents, and that's a 24-hour service for students at the University of the Free State, particularly on the Bloemfontein campus. So please do make sure that you meet all the criteria of the funding application. Now, Prince, quickly talk to us about how students can get in contact with you and with the different people that particularly can help with funding at CGS.
Yes, that's very important. So we are open to students. So if you wish to see us, please do come to Johannesburg building. It's the Johannesburg building. We're on the ground floor at the Bloemfontein campus. So if you have any challenges with your postgraduate funding, please do come to the office. You can ask for me or my colleagues, Mr. Macheo and Ms. Boy, who are here to assist you. In terms of our contact number is 051 401 7161. Then you can just ask for the funding office, or you send us an email to graduate support. That's graduate support at ufs.ac.za. Or if you just go to the UFS website, click on postgraduate students, it will take you to the CGS page. That's where also you can get our contact details.
Thank you so much for that. Remember, our technical team will be posting these details in the chat. I know Bonola's already posted up front, but we will, again, for those who might have missed it, repeat those details. Prince, before I let you go, what are some of the benefits for bursary holders, particularly those internal UFS funded bursaries?
Yes, I think benefits, yes, they also for those that are external. For example, the HCI Foundation, they even have a mentorship program. So not only do they give you the funds, but they also provide mentorship. So also some of them, even the NRF, they give you a chance to attend conferences. So should you wish to attend a conference, there's also funding for that. But also networking opportunities, career advancement. I know of funding from NRF Sarao. They were saying that all the students that they funded, none of them is not working. So they fund students, then they look for employment for them. So there are so many benefits that come with those opportunities. But I think it goes back to the fact that you need to make sure that you acquaint yourself with the minor details, because there's so much stuff to read, but make sure that you go through so that even if you have funding, you understand all the other benefits that come with that opportunity.
Thank you so much for that. There are some questions in the chat. One of them that has been popping up before I let you go, Prince, is do you fund PGCE, Postgraduate Certificate in Education?
Unfortunately not. Yes, because I think it's considered as a certificate. And it's unfortunate also because we hardly find funding for PGCE. I think there was a time where NSFAS used to fund it, but they don't fund it anymore. So we fund as far as postgraduate diploma up to PhD.
All right. Thank you so much. So Secure the Gratis, you have heard the information yourself. It is very important that you do. If there's one takeaway for me in this segment is that apply on time. Don't wait for the final day. You know Murphy's Law, when you're not expecting things to go wrong, that's exactly when they go wrong. So make sure that you get time to read, you get time to collect your information, all the documents, and apply on time. Because remember, sometimes you don't understand a particular question on the application. That's the opportunity to contact the funding office and ask for clarity around a particular segment so that you can provide the right information. All the best for those of you who are applying. There is another poll that has come up. Here's your opportunity to tell us, how often have you consulted with the Center for Graduate Support this year? Once a month, once a semester, or I've never done it. Don't worry if you've never done it. Prince and the team are waiting for you. Prince, thank you so much. Now, let us move to our partner, Standard Bank, and Tsecho. Oh my goodness. Tsecho might say Evodia and my name. Tsecho, it's because you are so beautiful and I just get to choke on your name there a little bit. So, Tsecho, welcome again. We're really looking forward. We've heard what the University of the Free State offers to the students in terms of bursary and funding opportunities, but we know that we do have a Standard Bank right here on our Bloemfontein campus and very close to our other campuses. Can you tell us a little bit on, firstly, how can students get in touch with Standard Bank if they need assistance in terms of funding opportunities?
Right, thanks, Evodia. I think you've already mentioned that, we're quite a big bank and we do have branches all over the country. So I think if you need, a more face-to-face approach and you need somebody to sit with you and take you through, the offerings and for you to ask the questions, you're welcome to visit any one of our branches. Our consultants are readily waiting to assist you, right? And then you can also then reach out on our website, so www.standardbank.co.za. So also on the search engine, you can actually then search for student funding Standard Bank. So we do offer two types of loans. So if you want a student loan without surety, you can use that to basically then search for a student loan offering. But if you want just a student loan, then it's a student loan Standard Bank, and you can actually then get the information on our website. We do have quite a lot of FAQs that we've had over the years, and we do try to update it as regularly as possible just to make sure that we are helping. But again, through one of our call centers, you're more than welcome to then also then interact with the team there. I think we're quite big on social media. We do have a LinkedIn page. We do have a Twitter page. So if you do have a question on a Saturday evening, you can actually just DM the page and the guys will get the query to the relevant consultants.
Awesome. So guys, unlike us at the UFS, Friday, Saturday, Hareyo at Standard Bank, they are ready to talk to you. Sekho, I know you will be quickly taking us through a presentation, and one of the things that I'm hoping that you can speak to our audience about are the different funding opportunities, ways in which our students can apply for these funding opportunities and take advantage of it, and also, some of the differences between these. When you're ready, you can go for it.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible. I don't want to bore anyone here with banking talk. So let me know when you can see my screen, please.
It's visible.
Okay, let me just find my pointer now. So I guess where I like to start really, right, is why we exist. I know we're a bank and there's always questions around why do you do this? What is the opportunity? What are you getting out of it? But at Standard Bank, right, we have a dedicated student funding team, of which I'm the solution owner. And we look at supporting and backing the student really for who they want to become. So this we took really from the survey that we did with some of the students that we funded before to just look at what is the reason they would take a student loan. And this is really what we want to do, and it aligns to what we do, right, every day. So in terms of our solutions, we look at, finding a job, achieving my goals, advancing in my career. So that is exactly what we do. So when we're solutioning, we don't look at it from a bank perspective. However, we look at it for who the student wants to become. So these are the things that we think about. This is what keeps us up at night, just in terms of, what is the next move in terms of finding solutions for students. So we look at this and then we try to solve from there, right? So if I just move on to, the ways to fund your studies, there's three top ones that I'd like to just touch on a little bit. So the bursaries one, I think we've touched on just in terms of the different options that are available there. Then you have your crowdfunding. So we do have Phoenix, the likes of Phoenix that does that, where students can actually go register on the platform, and you can basically then say what the story is, just basically say how much you need assistance with, and people can actually then donate towards your studies, right? So it's basically a platform where you have your small amounts that are collected from a large amount of people, and it basically adds up to help the student. And then lastly, this is where we come in. Again, I just want to point out to say that with student funding, really, we like students to explore all of the other options, and we will be the option that is there to help you, in terms of, your funding if you can't get your bursaries and you can't get help through crowdfunding. So here with, the major differences is that your student loan is interest bearing. So you typically do have, your lower interest rate, as opposed to if you went out and got a normal term loan or a revolving credit. So the interest rates are significantly low here because it is about, trying to get you through school. And then once you've graduated, you can actually then start repaying your loan. I think just in terms of the products or the solutions rather that we have a student loan with surety now. With surety basically means a parent or a guardian, somebody who's there and who can help you take responsibility of the interest and fees on a monthly basis while you are studying and you're focusing on your studies. So here we have what we call a surety-backed loan. And this is for full-time students who do have, a parent, a guardian, an aunt, a mom, to basically then say they will come in, service or pay the interest and fees on a monthly basis. And then once you then graduate, you can start repaying the loan. You do a takeover, then you start then taking care of the loan, right? This is the loan that you basically then applied for, plus the interest and fees. And then you have what we call a self-backed student loan. This is the self-assured. This is normally for part-time students who are also working and they can afford to pay those fees on a monthly basis. So on both these ones, we look at affordability. So we'll look at your income and expenses, and then we'll do a bureau check with credit just to look at, how are you paying? Do you have any judgments? So we'll consider that, and then we will give you an amount that you qualify for. Again, I think the main difference is that if you went and applied for a personal loan now, it would be, you would have to then pay the full amount just in terms of when you start taking that loan, versus on a student loan, it's just interest and fees while you're studying. And when you graduate, then you then take over the full repayment. And then the one that I'm quite passionate about is this one at the bottom. We call it a student loan without surety. So here what we did as Standard Bank is that we looked at the reasons why students actually get declined for student loans. So your traditional loans over here, right? And we looked at affordability being, one of the factors and the biggest contributors to those. So we looked at doing a test and learn where we look at what we deem as the missing middle. So students who come from households with no income or income below 600,000 per annum. And for now, we have then just basically ring-fenced that to specific qualifications of faculties. However, we are looking at other solutions to do this. So here you wouldn't need your guardian or you wouldn't need, a parent to then stand surety for you. Here, Standard Bank would do that. And I think I'm very happy to say that, the university itself of Free State had basically signed up for this solution last year, November. And if you go onto our website now and search for student loan without surety, you will then see what the qualifying criteria are, as well as the qualifications that we do support there. So just in terms of how it works, this one, the full-time where, you have a parent or a guardian or you do work, this one your parent would need about 3,000 per month in order to then apply for the loan. And if you do work, you need 5,000 Rand per month. So here we don't have maximums in terms of your tuition covers. We do cover accommodation and then textbooks and equipment. Again, here, I think the one thing that I want to then address and stress is that, it's important for you to look at, accommodation that is basically on the campus, or if you find a landlord that is accredited, right? So it can help you, because when you do apply, then if you apply for 60,000 and you do qualify, then we'll pay that amount into the landlord's account. So this is something that I wanted to then just, emphasize. And then from an interest rate perspective, it's significantly low. So this, we look at it under developmental credit. So meaning that we don't charge you your maximums in terms of what we can charge you as a bank. It's just about, giving you the lowest interest rate on this one. And if you do bank with Standard Bank, then, we do personalize that interest rate. Again, here in terms of the repayments, they're quite flexible. So what happens generally is that your guardian or parent will then take care of the fees and interest on a monthly basis. Once you then graduate, we have a conversation with you just in terms of what is your affordability and what are the options available to you. So we give you up to 120 months to basically then repay that loan. But again, it's a conversation that you have with our service consultants where they make sure that you are also happy with the installment. But again, in terms of repayments, what happens with student loans is that students sometimes will take a student loan and then they will go away and they'll come back after 3 years when they graduate. What happens is the more you pay towards that student loan, the less that you will pay in interest. So we calculate the interest based on the balance of the loan, right? So the more you repay, the less than you pay us. So I think here, if you do get part-time work, it's, we do encourage you to then repay. If you have 1,000 rand here, 500, 100 rand, doesn't matter. You can just pay your loan. We don't penalize you for paying us early. And then again, it's a simplified process. I will show you just in terms of how do you actually then get access to that link. And then again, easy payouts. So we do pay directly to the institution in terms of tuition, and then with the relevant parties in terms of your accommodation. The student loan without surety itself, again, this is open to students who come from households with no income or income below 600,000. Here we do cover, historical debt. I think that's one thing, again, that students will say, I'm in my third year, I can't graduate, I need my historical debt covered. So we would cover that for you. So it would be 120,000 per year plus your historical debt. And then again, here we do cover tuition, textbooks, study equipment, and accommodation. The interest rates are significantly low on that one. And again, what we do is we don't want to catch you out. So we do give you a quotation in terms of, what it's going to cost you. So you're at least very transparent in terms of, what is it that you can anticipate paying once you are done studying. Again, just in terms of that application process, you can do it online, and then our consultants will help you with that. I think just in terms of where to find it, I did speak about the website. If you then just go onto the Standard Bank website, there's this section around products and services. If you then go onto the borrow link here, it will then take you to this page where you can actually then see student loans at the bottom. If you want to see all loans that I'm talking about, you have your overdrafts, your revolving credits, or your terms, but you actually want to be here because of the low interest rate and the flexibility that we have with this loan. And then just next, what you can do is it's going to take you to this page over here. This is where you will see the two types of student loans. And I've just added a QR code in case you do want to then check it out now to just find out what, that's all about. But here you will find your student loan, and this is the surety backed one. Then you'll find more information around the student loan without surety. So if you do click on Tell Me More, you can find out more information about the respective loans. And then again, here, if you just are playing around with it and you want to know how much you're going to pay, because I can imagine if you go to your parent and you say, you need to stand surety for me, they'll ask you, well, what can I expect to pay? So you can come here in terms of playing with our calculator, select the option relevant to you, play around with the months and the interest, and then you can basically then get an estimate in terms of, how much you can expect paying and also how much you're going to be paying towards the interest and fees. And that's me in a nutshell.
No wonder we have so many students in this webinar. It is an absolute hit. I think very enlightening in terms of what Standard Bank offers. I love the fact that the interest rate is low, and the fact that I was looking at the maximum repayment term of 120 months. That's almost like a bond if you're paying for a bond, and it's flexibility to really pay. And, I think it takes off the pressure from a student who perhaps after completing their degree might be struggling to find a job. So quite a lot of information or a lot of benefits also there from Standard Bank. Very innovative also, just to say the least, from our students. I think we're also getting a lot of love from the students, a lot of, oh my gosh, I did not know this exists. Just maybe to talk about timing. Are these solutions available at a particular time of the year, or can students approach your branches anytime?
I mean, you can apply now while we're on the call. I think, with students, what we normally do, right? And sometimes what we find is that students will wait until, the end of the year, then want to apply, right? At that point, obviously, you're not going to come in November and say, I want money towards my textbooks. However, if you say you want, money towards your historical debt, you can still apply, granted that you are registered. And I think, again, there's we try to do a lot to help students. And what we want is accountability, because when it comes to repayment as well, the interesting thing is it's a cycle. Think about if you're in a household, you stay with your sister and your cousins, you know, and you're now supposed to pay and you're working and you say, maybe let me not pay it back. The more that you pay your loan, it gives us the opportunity to actually help more students. So if you pay us back, then we basically are able to fund 2-3 more students when you do that. So I think that accountability, right, needs to be shared as well. But I think from an application perspective, you can go into our branches now. I mean, you can go on our website and you can apply all year.
I could not have said it better myself. So get applying. I saw one of the comments. Someone said they left a toxic employer wondering how are they going to pay back their student loan had they only known about Standard Bank earlier. So Tsovazo, thank you so much for this information. And for you, our audience, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, please take advantage of this. The details have been put in the chat. And do remember also to follow our social media platforms. We are #SecureTheGrad on Instagram to get more of these details that we'll be sharing after the webinar. This brings us to a wrap up of our formal presentations by our panelists, and we are now opening up our Q&A segment. So if you would like to ask a question to either the Center for Graduate Support or the UFS Tuition and Financial Aid Office, alternatively to Standard Bank, you may raise your virtual hand. One of our team members will activate your microphone and we'll take your questions. I did see many of the questions were answered already in the chat, but we're happy to hear from you. Last poll, there's a poll right there and we're asking you, did you know about funding opportunities offered by Standard Bank before this webinar? Is it a yes? Is it a no? I'm choosing my option right now and I'm clicking on the submit button. Hope you are too. Right, now that I have selected my option, I see many of you are already jumping on it. 30 responses. Where are the rest of you? We'd like to see you respond to the poll. We already have a hand up and Tsepang, your microphone has been enabled. You may unmute and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
You are loud and clear. What's your question?
Yeah, I wanted to know that can someone use the monitoring bursary for the UFS to fund their second degree, if maybe they're doing a second degree at the same university at the UFS, or maybe to pay for the outstanding fees thereof from the second degree?
Thank you for that question. Khomotso or Mr. Chwane?
Good afternoon.
Yes, we can hear you, Dashwan.
Thank you. Monitoring bursary is only applicable for undergraduate studies. And it is only assisting students in their final year. If you do your second qualification, you're not in your final year. If you're going to be doing a postgraduate studies, you're no longer in your final year. Final year means you are doing a third year of your qualification. For example, if you are doing a BA degree and you are doing the third year of that qualification or the final year, at the end of that year, they will give you a qualification in terms of the requirements at the student academic services. That's where the monitoring bursary then becomes applicable to you. It cannot be banned any other way. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I hope that's clear for you. Second question, Wanga. Wanga, what's your real name? Your microphone isn't been enabled. You can unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, yeah, the name is Wanga, actually, it's just Wanga. My question is with regards to the Standard Bank's loan without surety. I used it, I'm in my third year accounting. I used it in 2022, but I was unsuccessful in some of my modules. So my question really is, can I still be eligible to apply for it? Because it's very hard to get bursaries when you're in your third year because marks are not that good and all of that. So my question really is for that.
Thank you so much. So Tseho, Wanga wants to know, he applied in 2022, academically didn't go so well. Is he still eligible to apply again?
So you can apply again. What we normally do is that we will have a look at, you know, your academic history. So part of your supporting documents is to then send that academic history just to understand, what is your circumstances. Also, I think we don't generally just say don't apply because things happen, right? I think we've had quite a lot of students sometimes where, they do go through mental issues during the year, which, prevent them from doing well. So I think we take those on a case-by-case basis. So you are welcome to apply. The consultants normally then just send it to the product team to review, and we will then get back to you just in terms of if we can help. But you are more than welcome to apply for a limit increase.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Wanga. And remember, Wanga, the GPS success coaches for you. We do have tutors. Don't go down alone. There is help at the UFS. Thank you for asking that question. Lee, you are up next. You may ask your question and unmute.
Hello, everyone. My question is just, I want to know if NFR would fund me if my average is like 64 and not 65.
And that is in the postgraduate, Mr. Koza, which they consider Lee's application?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for the question, Lee. So the minimum academic average is 65%. That's 65% of from your final year undergrad, if you're still doing your undergrad, or 65% of your honors modules if you're applying for masters, or 65% of your masters if you're applying for PhD. So unfortunately, we've also had cases where students had 64%. So the NRF would not consider an application if it's 64%, it must be 65% or above. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Prince. Team Songo, you are up next. You can unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. I would like to find out if there is funding, especially for masters or PhD students, if you would like to publish a paper, the so-called article publishing fees, if they are funding for such.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Koza. If it's not a dissertation, but it's master's or PhD via publishing of articles, academic papers, is that also considered in terms of funding?
What we have for that is assistance to refine your article. So we do provide support for you to refine your article for publishing, but we unfortunately do not have funding for you to publish. What we have funding for this year was for you to go to attend a conference. If you have a conference paper that has been accepted, we could fund you to go present your paper at a conference. With expectation that you then publish afterwards. So we offer that, and we offer funding for data collection. Unfortunately, no funding yet for the article publishing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prince, maybe just for clarity. So do you then fund the degree? So if it's a master's and a PhD, are you saying that you do not fund it if it's not by dissertation or structured?
Okay, so we do fund master's and PhD, structured or research, it doesn't matter. Because there are students who are doing a master's by research, just research only, and there are those that have modules and then that mean dissertation at the end. So we do fund all those students.
All right, perfect. Yes. Thank you so much. Minientle, your microphone has been enabled. You may ask your question by unmuting.
Can you hear me?
You are audible. You may ask your question.
I don't think audible.
Minnie, we can hear you now.
Okay, I have a network problem, so it might happen that I must have missed one of the information. So I wanted to know, in terms of NRF, how do they calculate the average? Is it for only, do they only calculate for final year, or they start from your first year until your final year? And then my second question is for Standard Bank loan. What are the that loan, and how can we find out about it? Because have been having network issues. And my last question, it was answered actually that the monitoring bursary expires after 5 years. But what could be the problem? Because my monitoring bursary does not appear anymore. So that's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just for that last question about monitoring bursary, if it's not appearing, I'd want to encourage you that you please email the financial aid office. We will drop the contact details at the bottom. But Prince, you can tackle the post-grad funding. Do you look overall for the whole undergraduate qualification or degree, or the marks, the whole undergraduate journey? Do you look at that average or just final year?
Thank you so much, and thanks for the question. I think the question was around the NRF. So with the NRF, it's only the final year. So if you're doing your undergrad this year, so then they will look at your final year only. So if you add all your final year modules, you need to get 65% and above to qualify. So it's the final year modules, not the modules from your first year.
All right. And then I know you also asked about Standard Bank. The Standard Bank details are there so far. So maybe do you want to summarize how the loan particularly works?
So I didn't quite get that question because I think they were having connection issues. Could you repeat that question for me?
I see we lost Minnie, but she was asking more or less, how does your funding work?
Okay, so we have the two types, right, of funding, three actually. So you will have your student loan with surety. So this is for full-time students who do have a guardian or, a parent, an aunt, a brother who is willing to then come in and basically stand as your surety. So what this would mean is that they come in and then they supply their income expenses, and then we then score them based on the affordability and their credit checks that we do. So what would happen is that we will then say on a monthly basis, we will calculate what the interest and the fees are based on what the amount that you qualified for. Then that is what they pay. Once you graduate, then we give you about 6 months, and then you then have time to then take over the full repayment of the loan. But again, it's in conversation. We don't just want to say, listen, pay 12,000 Rand now. We don't do that. So it's in conversation with you, an agreement to say, what can you afford? What is realistic? We understand in this economy, sometimes, the starting salary might also be lower. So then we take all of those factors into account. Then you have your part-time one that works similar to that one. The only difference is that now you would be the student and you would be your own surety because you are working and you are studying. So because you're working, you will then be calculated in terms of what the installment is. The installment would cover your interest, your fees, as well as your principal debt that you're borrowing. Then the last one is the student loan without surety. So there the difference is Standard Bank is the one backing you now. We're backing you based on who you want to become. So we understand that you might not have that person who stands as a surety. So essentially we would act as a surety for you. And the only thing that you would have to do is then pass your bureau check. So I think one of the most important things that we see from students, right? They come first year, apply, second year, they go get a credit card, do everything else. And then once you start applying for the loan, you now have balances that are overdue. You now have your judgments against your name. So guard against that. I think we have a lot of material on financial education. Understand, when you're finding a store that says we want to give you a credit card, think about it already to say how can that impact me. So imagine you now going and spending this money that, is on a credit card that you didn't even need. Now you need a student loan, and we say no based on that, right? So I think those are the things that we want to guard against, but their Standard Bank would then stand surety for you. How the loan itself would work is that the interest and fees will be added to the loan on a monthly basis. And then once you then graduate, you will take over the loan. I think the one thing to note is that, we also don't just say we're not going to have a maximum on that loan. We do cover towards your latter years of study just to make sure that you're not coming out with a million rand that you owe to Standard Bank, right? We consider all of that. So I think it's just important to make sure that you do then get what you need. If you don't need it, please don't do that. And I think one important point that I think is worth noting, there's a thing called double dipping, right? That some students do, where they will then apply for a loan. What we normally do is that we don't want you to owe us, really, right? It's there to help you. So if you apply for a loan, say January, we pay you the loan, and halfway you then get a bursary. We do give you the opportunity to then pay it back. It's your obligation. I think one of the people asked about the terms and conditions. What we do add in the contract is that it's your responsibility to tell us if you graduate, you drop out, you get further funding, and that money needs to go back to offset against your loan. So if you get money from a bursary, 100,000, if it's 20,000, pay it back towards your student loan. And next year, you can come again and apply for a limit increase. We're not out to get you, but we just want to help.
Very, very informative. So, Minenhle, I hope your questions are answered. We'll be taking the last three hands. Ziketelo, you are up next. Please remember to unmute your microphone.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello, Ziketelo. What's your question?
My question is to Tshegofatso. So I went on Google, and then under Trust Fund, I saw that there's a bursary for Standard Bank. I wanted to ask Tshegofatso if psychology students who are doing their undergraduate studies, are they eligible to, for the bursary and everything? And if the bursary is there, because I saw that she did not touch it, my apologies for asking about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you want to maybe speak a little bit about the bursary opportunity that's on study that's been advertised under Study Trust?
Yes, so it's actually a different team that deals with that. So what I'll do is I can share the criteria that is being used for this year, but we do have your bursaries, your learnerships, and then there are a lot of graduate programs if you go on our website to then find those. So I think every year they will then look at, the criteria that they'd want to use, and then they'd stipulate that on the application form. So it does vary. What I can do is that I can just consult and just confirm with the relevant team, and then I can share the details with Evodia and the team.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. And then Quentin, you're up next, and then we move to Rachel.
Hello, can you hear me?
You are audible. What's your question?
Okay, my question is that I'm not sure if I missed the information before, but I'm an undergraduate in one of the South campus, and I've dropped out due to that. I didn't get any funding, and this is the second semester that I've dropped out, and I went back home. So I'd like to ask if there's quite of a solution for me that I can be able to do. I tried applying to some of the bursaries, but there's no hope as such. But also, I also got my diploma before. I did study before and get my diploma. And I just want to ask if there's a solution for me so that I can be able to continue with my studies. Thank you.
Before you go off, you just quickly summarize your question for me so that we just have it very clearly for our panelists.
Okay, I just want to ask if there's any solution in terms of bursaries for an undergraduate in their first year.
All right, undergraduate bursaries for first year. I know Prince definitely is out of the equation. Let's hear from Financial Aid Office and Standard Bank.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. Bursaries are monies that are made available or budgetary resources that are made available for someone to benefit from. Therefore, they've got rules, and rules will determine that bursaries or awards like that are based on performance. So if therefore there is no performance or qualifying criteria that for example, you should be undertaking your first your first undergraduate qualification. If you already hold a qualification, that becomes a barrier because the funding rules stipulate that it should be someone who's pursuing their first qualification. It's a budgetary available money. It's not unlimited, whether it comes from Standard Bank or whether it comes from the financial aid. There's always a budgetary requirements to that, and it has got rules. So those rules that needs to be followed. That's basically what I will respond like to the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chane. I know from your side, definitely as a student that wants to study again and pursue undergraduate, those loans and bursaries are also available.
Yes, there are. So you can go to our website just to maybe familiarize yourself better with the criteria. But we are, willing to help. I think we do get some of the other requests where students will write letters and everything. And we don't just look at that and think, no, we don't want to deal with it. I think as a team, we're quite passionate about helping. So where we can help, we'll try to do something. So I think you apply if you get into, trouble in terms of that. I think our consultants are very knowledgeable about, helping you and finding you a solution. And we'll try to help as best as we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those questions, and I hope you got answered. Rachel, please unmute your microphone.
Good day, everyone.
Hi, Rachel. What's your question?
My question is directed to Mr. Khoza. I just want a little bit more clarity. I heard that for the NRF to do your masters, you need to have a overall percentage of 65%. Is that correct, or are there specific modules that are looked at? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Rachel. Prince?
Thank you, Vodia. Thank you, Rachel, for the question. So yes, the minimum is 65%. That means that you are eligible for the funding. But I think, as the previous speaker has said, funds are not unlimited. So it goes back to the pool of funding that's available. But what I can say is that if you are with the UFS, please do apply. The NRF does fund all the qualifications that the UFS is offering, but you need to at least have 65% or higher. The higher, the better. Thank you.
Rachel, I hope that answers your question. Kelly, you are up next. You can unmute your microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all well. I also thank you for the opportunity availed. I wanted to ask a few questions. So first, I wanted to ask if there are any bursaries that would fund anyone who did a course in the food and beverage industry, or any general bursary that would also fund anyone who would want to continue in a postgraduate qualification. Then my second question is to Standard Bank. Do they also allow or get applicants who are not using Standard Bank or have an account with them to also apply for their student loans? And then to the one of NRF, I'm not sure, but Mr. Khoza can confirm or also comment on this one, because I think it's only the major modules that you had, your majors and your final year, that they look at when you apply, but you can confirm on that. Also, I wanted to ask, I had an outstanding debt on my honors qualification with the UFS. So I want to ask, what is the minimum amount that I need to have for me to actually come back and study there? Yeah, I think those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. The first question, If you studied a food and beverage qualification and you want to continue in the postgrad studies, are there opportunities for funding? Prince, I'll take that one to you, as well as, does NRF look at your main modules or your majors when you're applying in terms of criteria? So those are the two questions for you. And then for our tuition and financial, particularly tuition, we want to find out what is the minimum outstanding that a student must have, or maximum outstanding that the student must have in order to be considered to register in the following year. And then last one to Standard Bank. If you are a non-Standard Bank client, can you still apply for the various products that are available for student funding? Prince, let's start with you, then we move to tuition, and then we'll wrap up with you, Tsecho.
Thank you so much for the questions. The first one on the food and bev. Externally, there is funding from CETA, food and bev CETA, that we usually advertise. That will also be available on our website to check when it's going to open. But with our internal funding, we don't really look at what you're studying. I can confidently say that over the past 2 years, we've managed to fund all students who have applied for funding and were eligible. So we don't look at what you are studying. If you meet the minimum requirements in terms of your academic performance, we will fund you. In terms of the NRF, yes, so if you're going to be doing your honors, the calculation is they look at the final year major modules. Those are the major modules in your final year. That's what they calculate and to get to the 65% or above. Thank you.
Thanks, Prince. Mr. Chani or Khomotso, whichever one of you want to tackle that question around what is that threshold in terms of outstanding fees that the institution will allow you to register in the following year if you have an outstanding?
Thank you, Chair. That component is a little tricky to answer now, because at the beginning of the year, negotiations between students in terms of campus management or campus leadership takes place, because then you address issues around how do they help in terms of, e.g., funds or monies that are outstanding, and how do they help students to come in. So it's always a negotiated situation based on an amount. For example, for someone to be given a concession and to be allowed to be in there. So it's not easy to talk that now, because that concession normally happens at the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Also,
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chani. So do remember in January, usually as soon as senior students registration opens up, we are hosting webinars on registration. And one of the topics that we will be addressing is, again, funding your degree. And during that period, we will again invite our financial aid office as well as UFS tuition to come talk to us around what are the tuition fees, what are registration fees, what concessions have been made if those decisions are already out. Alternatively, how can you reach the offices without fighting them? Of course, we know it's usually a contested space during that time of the year. Thank you so much for that answer, Mr. Chani. Let's move over to you, Tsecho, and we'll have Tsepo lastly.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chani.
I had just wanted to check the student who said outstanding monies. Will that outstanding monies be in respect of honor studies and the student coming back to do a master's program, or are they coming back to the honors program? Because I just needed to be able to differentiate in terms of the outstanding. Thank you.
I think that was clear. But please, if you asked that question, please go tap in the chat. Is it for a student that's in their final year going into postgrad, or is it from one postgrad level to the next? Please indicate that differentiation in the chat so that we can help in terms of a clearer answer. All right. Tsepo, I think you're up next.
Okay, so we do borrow to non-Standard Bank customers, right? However, why would you not want to be part of Standard Bank? I mean, from a Standard Bank perspective, I know I worked there, so there's some bias. However, I think what we try to also do is we work quite closely with our youth segment to look at not students just from a funding perspective, right? I think once we've given you funding, it's always the then what, right? So we try to add value so much to students, and we work very closely with our segment teams to make that happen. So if you do bank with Standard Bank, you're going to get something over and above, funding. There's a lot of, think you guys would know about Varsity Vibes, right? Where they have so many deals for students that, you can get there. I'm a student, I mean, I'm a postgrad student, but I am on Varsity Vibes trying to benefit from that. So please do sign up for Standard Bank, get your check account. But to answer your question, you don't have to bank with Standard Bank for us to help you.
Thank you so much for that, Tshegofatso. This blue is definitely not a Standard Bank blue. So Secure the Grad does not yet bank with Standard Bank. But we do love Standard Bank here. They're part of our family at Secure the Grad. So last question, Tsepo, we'll be taking your hand last because we have reached, unfortunately, the end of our Q&A segment. This is by far the longest Q&A segment that we've had in our last 33 episodes. Tsepo, over to you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What's your question?
Yes, ma'am. As me now, it's my first time ever studying at a university, ma'am, and I think this has been a short course. And I don't know how much of the session I have missed, but I'll ask my question now. What I want to ask is, are we then eligible to study full time after completing the course we've been doing now, ma'am? And if we are relevant to the funders on the call now, as we are also now students of the UFS wanting to study, we are studying business and information technology then. So that's my question, ma'am.
Just summarize your question for me, Tsepo. I just want to make sure that we've captured it correctly.
Yes, ma'am. As I said, I am a first-time student at an university, and I would like to study full-time next year. But I have been doing this as a short course. So now I was asking if I am eligible to the funders on the call now to ask for funding from any of them to pursue my studies full-time in the business and information technology field next year.
All right, so you are not yet a full-time student. That's what I'm understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so colleagues on the platform, is Tsepo eligible? Should he register next year? What funding opportunities can he start applying for? Maybe let's hear from you, Tsecho. Okay. Any of my panel members here, Mr. Trane?
Thank you, Chair. I think we should let the student do the first, inquiries the correct way. We need to check with Student Academic Services, what is the student intending to study and what are the requirements in terms of that program? Because we would then start saying other things here while, the other parties that are part of the university have not yet actually been consulted. Because in order for you to say, I'm going to do a BA degree, you need to have actually spoken or consulted with the people who will then take your paperwork, then submit it to the faculty in order for the faculty to make a decision. It's very important for that process to be followed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. So Mr. Tran is right. We really want to encourage you, Tsepo, take that first important leap in making sure that you apply before universities close their application processes. I know many universities are closing now end of September for those undergraduate qualifications. So get your application in online and make sure that you get in. You are more than welcome to contact us at #SecureTheGrad on our email, on our website, on our Instagram page. We'll definitely see how we can get you the relevant information to support your application in an undergraduate qualification. Thank you so much for all your questions. If we've not had a chance to answer any of them, we do apologize, but this is an opportunity for you to once again join us at our next webinar. Very, very exciting conversations that have happened today. I hope it's been very informative to you. Remember, if you do need any support at the University of the Free State, you can contact us at GPS, and our contact details are 051 401 9111. Remember to press option 2. Alternatively, you can email us gps@ufs.ac.za, and one of our success coaches will be in contact with you. Remember, if you don't have airtime, you can leave a missed call at the 051 401 9111 number, and we will ring you back the following day. Within 24 hours, one of our success coaches will be in contact with you. If you need academic advising, maybe you are unsure what's happening in your studies, you want to make sure you're on track, or you may be struggling with some study strategies or time management, our advisors are here for you on all our 3 campuses of the University of the Free State. For Bloemfontein students, advising at ufs.ac.za, students on the South Campus, advising sc@ufs.ac.za. For our students on the Kwakwa campus, it's advising qq@ufs.ac.za. Alternatively, you can contact 051 401 2444, and we are on WhatsApp. Our success coaches are waiting for you on WhatsApp. The number is 087 240 6300. Sepo, please remember to mute your microphone there. I will mute it for you. And remember, for advising, you can also contact them on their Facebook page. You can look for UFS Academic Advising on Facebook. If you need of any tutoring support, our team is here for you. The A-Step team are present now on all 3 campuses, Bloemfontein, Central, Bloemfontein South, as well as Kwakwa. A-Step at ufs.ac.za. But if you're not sure who to contact, when to contact, remember that WhatsApp line is there for you. Remember also, do complete our evaluation. That will be put in the chat there. We want to know, was this webinar a hit or was it a miss, or maybe somewhere in between? But I think based on the conversations today, it was definitely a hit. We'd like to hear how we can improve these conversations to you. You can also tell us what other topics you'd like to hear from and who you'd like us to bring on board. On the chat right there is our feedback link. Please do click on that feedback, and it does increase your chances to be invited to our exclusive networking dinner at the end of the year. Remember, the sessions are being recorded, and the link will be sent via email. Alternatively, you can subscribe to our YouTube page on Secure the Grad, or follow us on Instagram at Secure the Grad. Now, the promise that we've made, that we'd like to reward some of you that have been beautifully engaging with us this afternoon. Next up, we will be putting up our winners for today's webinars. Our winners are Minientle, Lee, Lebohang Sotetsi, Makande, as well as Ntabiseng Mutawung. Congratulations for being our Secure the Grad winners. If you are one of our winners, I really want to encourage, please send us an email with your name, surname, as well as student number to this following email address, securethegrad@ufs.ac.za. Please remember to indicate that you are one of the webinar winners. Congratulations. If you did not win, but you were crazily and meaningfully engaging, it's because you might have been a winner in our previous webinars. So very similar to the funding, we want to give opportunities to those who have not not won in our previous series. All right, now from my side, I want to say a huge thank you to all our panelists. You all have been absolutely amazing. We know that success starts with access to information, and success to your funding starts with success. I want to encourage those of you who participated today or are watching the recording, please do take advantage of the information shared today. Remember, start your application now and not at 10 p.m. before the deadline. So from my side and the technical team in the background, thank you for being part of this amazing experience. One last thing before we let you go. If you are a University of the Free State student, remember to update your contact information. Otherwise, you might be losing out on very important bursary information or that CETA funding that is knocking on your door, as well as some amazing resources to help you complete your qualification. Lastly, if you are a registered University of the Free State student, remember to activate your LinkedIn Learning license. If you're not sure what that is, LinkedIn is a platform, a learning and development platform where you can literally do any course, from music to creative arts to mathematics to learning how to best work Excel. If you're struggling to type those documents, you can also learn how to do it on LinkedIn. If you want to be an influencer and know how to create content, you can also learn on LinkedIn Learning how to do that. And it's absolutely for free for all registered students at University of the Free State. You can get a hold of that information by emailing us on lil@ufs.ac.za. Our team will be putting those details down in the chat for you. From my side and the team, would like to thank you for being such awesome participants and being such awesome panelists this afternoon. Till our next webinar, it's a goodbye from me.